Driving an automatic car is definitely easier than driving a manual car. But here's something surprising. The failing rate of people doing their automatic driving test is higher compared to those taking their driving test in a manual car. That shows you still need to put in the effort to learn the basics and become a safe, confident driver. After all, you want your family or friends to feel relaxed and safe when you are behind the steering wheel. This video is mainly for beginners. But if your driving skills are feeling a little rusty, it can also be a helpful refresher. Now let's first talk about what you need to do when you get in the car. The first step is closing the door and adjusting the seat. Notice I didn't say put on your seatbelt yet. That's because you want to adjust the seat before putting the seatbelt on. If you put the seatbelt on first, it can get in the way and make it harder to adjust the seat properly. Let's talk about how to adjust the seat properly so that you feel comfortable and in control behind the steering wheel. First, we need to adjust the seat height. You want your chin roughly in line with the top of the steering wheel and your eyes should see clearly over the steering wheel. Now, depending on the car you are driving, there are different ways to adjust the seat height. If the car has a lever, pump it up to raise the seat and pump it down to lower it. For cars with electric adjustments, there are electric buttons on the side of the seat. In this car, pressing the bottom part of this button raises the seat and pushing the top part of the button lowers the seat. Just keep in mind that lowering the seat not only moves the seat down, but also moves the seat back slightly. Raising the seat does the opposite. It moves the seat up and slightly forward. That's why you should try and adjust the seat height first. Next, we'll adjust the seat recliner. You don't want to lean too far back and feel too relaxed, or lean too far forward and feel tense and strained. Finally, let's talk about how to adjust how far the seat is from the pedals. In some cars, you might need to use a bar underneath the seat to move the seat closer to the pedals or further from the pedals. In this car, we have electric buttons. To move the seat closer or further away, we press the side of the button in a sliding motion. Pushing on it from the back slides the seat closer to the pedals, and pushing on it from the front slides the seat further away. Once your feet feel comfortably positioned, extend your arms and check if your wrist can touch the top part of the steering wheel. If it does, the seat is likely in the correct position. Now, if you find that your arms can't reach the top part of the steering wheel even though your feet are positioned well, you will need to adjust the steering wheel. Most cars allow the driver to move the steering wheel closer, further away, up or down. The next step is to put on your seatbelt. Make sure the seatbelt lies flat across your body and isn't twisted like this. Wearing it twisted can reduce its effectiveness. Also, never wear the seatbelt underneath your arms. In the event of an accident, it won't protect you properly and could cause serious injuries. Remember, if you or your passengers are not wearing a seatbelt, or if it's not worn correctly, you can receive a fine. So always double check that everyone in the car is buckled up properly before you start driving. Now that the seat is adjusted, let's talk about foot placement. In a manual car, we use both feet to operate 3 pedals, but in an automatic car, there are only 2 pedals, the accelerator on the right and the brake on the left. When driving an automatic car, you only use your right foot to operate both pedals. Your left foot should rest on the footrest and shouldn't be used for braking. While some advanced drivers might use their left foot for specific tasks like hill starts, as a learner, stick to using just your right foot for the brake and the accelerator. In some places in Australia, you can actually get marked down or even fail the driving test if you drive an automatic car with both feet. It's also important to wear the right shoes for driving. Sneakers or shoes with a soft flat bottom are the best. We want to avoid wearing boots or high heels, as you won't be able to feel the pedals properly and they make it harder to control the pedals, especially if you are new to driving. Now the question is, what's the best placement for your right foot when operating the brake and the accelerator? Well, we want to place our foot directly in line with the brake pedal. This position ensures that you can quickly reach the brake in case of an emergency, as the brake is the pedal you will need most in an unexpected situation. If you look closely, you will notice the brake pedal sits slightly higher than the accelerator. To operate the pedals, you want to keep your heel on the floor and pivot the top part of your foot. For example, if your foot is on the brake and you need to move to the accelerator, simply pivot the top part of your foot to the right without lifting your heel. Then to move back to the brake, pivot your foot to the left the same way. So it's brake, accelerator, brake, accelerator. Just like this. Most people find this easy to do, but if you have trouble keeping your heel on the floor, maybe because you are shorter, you can practice moving your whole foot instead. It might take a little longer to get used to, but with practice, you will be able to brake and accelerate smoothly. Another thing to keep in mind, some drivers angle their foot slightly when pivoting between the pedals. That's perfectly fine as long as it feels comfortable and you can maintain control. Now that we've got our feet in the right position, it's time to start the car. To start the car, you need a key. It might be a traditional key that you insert into the ignition, or it could be a wireless key for a car with a push button start. Most modern cars now come with a push button system. Let's talk about the modes you'll find in most cars. There are usually 3 modes. Accessory mode, this lets you use things like the radio without starting the engine. Ignition mode, this mode powers features like the indicators, windscreen wipers, and air conditioning. However, it still uses the car's small battery. Power mode. This is when the engine or the hybrid system is running, providing full power to the car. It's important to be careful with accessory and ignition modes because they rely on the car's small battery. If you leave the car in one of these modes for too long, the battery can drain and the car won't start. If that happens, you will need to jump start the car, which isn't ideal. And remember, unlike manual cars, you can't push the automatic car to start it. So keeping the battery charged is very important. Most of the time though, we skip those first 2 modes and go straight to starting the car. Here's how. If you have a traditional key, place your right foot on the brake and turn the key all the way until the engine starts. If your car has a push button system, place your right foot on the brake and press the button once to start the engine. As soon as the engine starts, let go the key or stop pressing the push button. Holding it down after the engine is running can damage the car's starter motor or ignition component, which can be costly to repair. Now that the car is running, let's move on to the gears. Automatic cars are much simpler than manual cars because you don't have to think about changing gears while driving. The car handles it for you, selecting the right gear based on your speed. Before you start driving though, you need to tell the car whether you are going forward or backward. Let's go over the basic gear options you'll find in almost every automatic car. P, R, and D. P is for park. You use this gear when you stop the car and you want to keep it from rolling. R is for reverse. If you need to drive backwards, this is the gear you select. N is for neutral. Neutral takes the car out of gear. It's mostly used for maintenance or towing, so you won't need to use it often. Some people use neutral at traffic lights, but mechanics generally advised against doing this too often because it can wear out the gearbox. Once in a while is fine, but doing it all the time could damage the transmission. D is for drive. This is the gear you need if you want the car to move forward. Once you are in drive, the car automatically manages the rest. Depending on the car, you might see additional options on the gear shifter. For example, in this car there is B, which stands for braking or engine braking. This is helpful on things like coming down on a mountain or a steep hill because it slows down the car without wearing out the brake pads too much. Other cars might have options like S, M, D3, D2 or L. These serve similar purposes. They either provide engine braking or give the car extra power for climbing hills or accelerating faster. The labels might vary, but the functions are usually the same. Before we learn how to move, there is one more thing to talk about. When you put the car in park, you need to make sure it's fully secured and won't move. That's where the parking brake or the handbrake comes in. How the parking brake works depends on the car. In some cars, you might have a physical handbrake that you pull up every time you park. When you are ready to move, you need to release it manually. However, most modern cars now have an electronic parking brake, sometimes called an e-brake. In some cars, you press a button like this to turn it off and pull the button again to activate it. In other cars, the parking brake releases automatically as soon as you put the car in drive or reverse. Now that we've covered the basics, let's move on to how to start driving and stopping smoothly. So here I am stopped and I need to move off. The first thing I need to do is to put the car in drive. Now watch what happens when I remove my foot from the brake. The car starts to slowly move forward. This happened because I'm parked on flat road and with nothing holding the car in place, the wheels are free to move. That's why it's important to make sure you are ready and it's safe before removing your foot from the brake. Some people say you should remove the handbrake first, while others say you should remove it last. Honestly, it doesn't matter as long as you have your foot firmly on the brake. In fact, many modern cars automatically release the parking brake as soon as you put the car in drive or reverse. To keep things simple, here's the easiest habit to follow. Start by putting your right foot on the brake. Select drive. Release the parking brake or handbrake, but don't take your foot off of the brake just yet. Check your mirrors, signal right, and do a quick blind spot check. When it's safe, take your foot off of the brake, move it to the accelerator, and try to keep your heel on the floor. Look in the direction you want the car to go and gently press the accelerator. You also want to steer slightly to the right. Be careful not to press the accelerator too hard as automatic cars can be sensitive. Pressing too hard might make the car move off too quickly. Instead, accelerate gradually and the car will gradually pick up speed, meaning your acceleration will be smooth. If you feel the car is going faster than you like, there are two ways to slow down. Either take your foot off of the accelerator or gently press the brake. Now that you know how to move, let's talk about how to stop. To stop the car, we use the brake pedal. The brakes slow down the wheels, and that's how the car comes to a stop. But here's something to keep in mind. Brake can be sensitive. If you press the brake pedal too hard, the car will stop suddenly. Sudden stops aren't just uncomfortable for your passengers. They can also surprise the driver behind you and increase the risk of an accident. It's a bit like riding a bicycle. If you pull the brake lever too hard, the bike stops suddenly and you might even lose your balance. So how do you stop a car smoothly? Here's what you need to do. While keeping your heel on the floor, pivot from the accelerator to the brake and gently press the brake pedal. Gradually increase the pressure on the brake until the car comes to a stop. But sometimes stopping smoothly can be tricky for many learner drivers. Here's a simple trick. As the car is about to stop, ease off the brake pedal slightly to reduce the pressure. Then gently press the brake pedal again to come to a smooth stop. Let me show you how this works. We are going to stop on the left. First, check the rear view mirror and the left side mirror. Signal left, take your foot off of the accelerator, and while keeping your heel on the floor, pivot the right foot to the brake pedal. Start braking gently and gradually increase the pressure as needed. When the car feels like it's about to stop suddenly, ease off the brake slightly while still holding it. Then gently press the brake again to bring the car to a smooth stop. And that's it. That's how to stop smoothly and safely. Now let's discuss how to reverse. To make the car go backwards, we'll need to put it in reverse. Start by placing your right foot on the brake and selecting the reverse gear. Then release the parking brake or handbrake depending on what your car has. In this car, it comes off automatically, so I don't need to do anything. Once you let go of the brake, if you are on a flat road, the car will start moving backwards on its own. If you need to go faster, gently press the accelerator, and if you need to stop, move your right foot from the accelerator to the brake pedal. Now let's talk about steering while reversing. Many learner drivers struggle with this at first, and that's completely normal. I actually have a detailed video on this channel that explains where to steer when reversing, so I recommend checking that out if you are new to driving. But here's the basic idea. We steer the car based on where you want the back of the car to go. If we want the back of the car to move to the left, towards the curb in Australia, we steer to the left. If we want the back of the car to move to the right, we steer to the right. It's simple once you get the hang of it. But if you like more detailed explanation, make sure to watch the video on steering while reversing. The first example is about how to move off from the side of the road. Here I am, stopped on the side of the road, and I need to move off. First, I place my foot on the brake and select drive. In this car, the parking brake comes off automatically, so I don't need to remove it manually. Next, I check my mirrors, signal right, and check my blind spots. No one is coming. Keeping my heel on the floor, I pivot to the accelerator and gradually press it while steering slightly to the right. If the car starts going faster than I'd like, I ease off the accelerator to slow down gently. The second example is about how to park on the left. I take my foot off of the accelerator, check my left side mirror, and signal left. Then I gently start to brake. As the car is about to stop completely, I ease off the brake slightly, then gently press it again to stop smoothly. The third example is about how to reverse out of a parking spot. Here I am in a parking lot and I need to reverse out of a space. First, I place my right foot on the brake and select reverse. Again, this car automatically releases the parking brake, so I don't need to do anything. Next, I look around to ensure it's safe to reverse. Here's a quick tip. When reversing out of a parking spot between two cars, reverse straight first until your mirrors pass the end of the cars. So I reverse until my mirrors are clear, then I turn the steering wheel in the direction I want the back of the car to go. Once the car is angled enough, I brake and select drive. Keeping my heel on the floor, I smoothly pivot to the accelerator and gradually press it to move forward. The fourth and last example is about how to do a 3-point turn. First, I put my foot on the brake and select drive. The parking brake comes off automatically, so I don't need to worry about it. I check my mirrors, signal right, and check the blind spot. Then I turn the steering wheel all the way to the right. In some cases, you won't need to press the accelerator during a 3-point turn, but here I add a little accelerator while still ready to brake as the car approaches the curb. This is where pivoting your foot is helpful. It makes it easy to switch between the accelerator and the brake. When the car gets closer to the curb, I brake and select reverse before doing my observations. This is a good habit because selecting the gear first can help prevent accidents in case you forget. Now I look around. Since no one is coming, I release the brake and let the car move forward without using the accelerator. I monitor my mirrors and camera, and once the car is close enough to the curb, I brake again. Before I carry out my next observations, I select drive first. Another good habit to stay safe. After checking for traffic, I pivot my right foot from the brake to the accelerator, look in the direction I want to go, and start steering to the right. Then I gradually and smoothly accelerate to complete the turn. And now let's go over some common mistakes to avoid. Mistake number 1, not selecting the gear first before changing direction. Whenever you change direction, always select the gear first before doing observations. This ensures you don't forget and prevents dangerous situations. Here's a common example I see all the time as an instructor. A learner driver is asked to reverse. They immediately start doing their observations, step on the accelerator, and guess what happens? The car moves forward because they forgot to select reverse. Now imagine if there is something in front of the car, it could get hit. So always select the gear first. Mistake number 2, releasing the brake before being ready. Never release the brake before you are fully ready. Keep your right foot on the brake while doing your mirrors, signal, and shoulder check routine. This ensures the car won't move before you are ready to go, keeping you in control. Mistake number 3, accelerating too hard. Pressing the accelerator too hard can cause the car to move off too quickly, which can be uncomfortable and make controlling the car more difficult. This often happens if you are sitting too close to the pedals or wearing the wrong shoes. Sneakers or flat shoes are best for driving, while boots or high heels can make it harder to control the pedals. The key is finding a balance. Don't press the pedal too hard, but also don't press too light. Mistake number 4, braking too suddenly or not braking enough. Avoid braking suddenly for no reason. Sudden braking can cause the driver behind to hit your car because they are not expecting it. Remember, there are 3 main ways that drivers communicate: indicators, the car's position, and the car's speed. If you suddenly slow down without warning, other road users won't be prepared. Always brake gradually when possible to ensure safety. Mistake number 5, not moving off on time. As a driver, it's important to act promptly to reduce the risk of accident. When moving off, set up the car by placing your right foot on the brake, selecting drive, releasing the handbrake. Then do your mirrors, indicator, and shoulder check routine. Once it's safe, start moving the car within 1 second. If you wait too long, the situation may change and you will need to redo your observations. Mistake number 6, not looking at where the car needs to go. After completing your shoulder check, always look ahead at where you want the car to go and steer accordingly. If you keep looking over your shoulder while the car is moving forwards, it's dangerous. You risk hitting something. So once you finish your shoulder check, focus on where you want the car to go and steer in that direction. For a more detailed explanation on where to look and steer, check out the video on this channel about steering a car. It explains everything step by step. And there you have it. That's how to move and stop an automatic car smoothly. It might take a few tries to perfect your braking and acceleration, but with practice, you get there. If you are new to driving, I would highly recommend to work with an instructor to build a strong foundation. They can guide you through the basics, helping you develop good habits and make sure you avoid forming bad routines. Having this support will make your driving journey safer, smoother, and more enjoyable in the long run. That's it for this video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you did, feel free to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more driving tips and tutorials. You might also enjoy this video where I go over how to steer a car step by step. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.